Hello ladies, thank you very much for your lovely comments on Facebook. I've never done a tutorial video before, so please bear with me, and thank you very much to my husband who's filming it so I can have my hands free to make the flowers. I just wanted to say that this isn't my design, this flower. This is one that I've learnt from a lady called Lisa Tromans in the UK. Her and a lady called Claire Daniel run a group called Create Sometime, and I went to one of their classes and learnt how to make the flowers. Of course, with Stampin' Up's really beautiful designer series paper, of course it had to be everybody's gift for Christmas. I've just returned to New Zealand, where I'm from, after 25 years away, so I did bring some DSP with me to make the flowers for my family for Christmas. But because I've used it up and made all the flowers, I'm actually having to show you how to do them with non-Stampin' Up paper. But with Stampin' Up 12 by 12 DSP, you can make a large flower with one sheet and still have plenty left over, and there's 3 different sizes, so we'll go through those in a minute. Okay, so these are the flowers that I'm going to show you how to make. You will notice that there's 3 different sizes here. We have a large one, a medium one, and a small one. Now, if you're using Stampin' Up DSP, I suggest you don't start with the small one, because the quality of the paper is so good and it's so thick. You end up with a really nice thick solid flower, but the small ones are very hard to do because the folds, well, you'll see when I fold them. So if you're using lighter paper, they're not as solid a flower, but they're much easier to do, the little ones. So for my Christmas gifts this year, I've done little mini milk bottles and filled them with some stones to help the flowers stand beautifully, and done one small, one medium, and one large for each. Each one requires a button, so that was fun, trying to match up buttons to our lovely DSP. You need a little bit of florist wire. Here's my button for the one that we're going to do, and a hot glue gun, and I'm using the red thin tape because it's really good and strong and helps you whilst you're building the flower, but then we'll join it all together with hot glue. Okay, each flower is made of 5 petals, and each piece of paper is 1 petal. So I'm going to show you, for the purposes of the video, the large one because it'll be the easiest one for you to see. But they're all exactly the same regardless of the size. If you're making the big flower, this piece of paper is 10 centimeters squared. For those of you in America who work with inches, it's about 4 inches squared. The medium size is 8.5 centimeters squared, or 3 3/16 if working in inches. And the small one is 7 centimeters squared, or 2 3/4 inches. Okay, so now to show you how to do the folding. So you start by folding one of your pieces of paper diagonally so that you end up with a triangle, and if you just use your bone folder to give a nice crisp fold. You then take one of the corners and bring it up to the center, once again giving it a nice crisp fold with your bone folder, and then you're going to do the same with the other side. So now you end up with a small square. Now this is the bit that gets a little bit tricky, and certainly with the small sizes, and certainly when you're working with the Stampin' Up thicker paper. So you're now going to fold one of these back so that the straight edge meets the straight edge of the square, and you're going to do that on both sides. So now you've got something that looks like that. Holding the square down, if you then open up one of the sides that you've just folded down and open it up flat, so that you then have this shape. And we're going to do the same on this side. So if you just put your finger in to help you flatten it, and then just use your bone folder to give you a nice crisp fold. Then this little triangle here, we want to fold it back. Just using your bone folder again, and then we're going to close up that petal. We're going to fold this one back, and then close up this petal. I will do another one so that you can see it again. But now you should end up with a square looking something like that. When we put the tape on, we're going to just gently with our finger allow it to sort of, you don't want it to crease, but you just want it to bend, and when we put the tape on we'll end up joining the petal up so that it looks like this. I will fold another one first and then we'll do the taping together. Okay, so I'm just going to show you again how I did that last flower or last petal. So you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to fold it in half diagonally to give you a triangle, giving it a crisp fold with your bone folder. Now with your triangle, you're going to take one of your corners up to the center. Once again, using your bone folder to give you a nice crisp fold, and then we're going to do the same with the other side and bring that to the center so that you're now left with a square. We're now going to take this edge up against this flat edge, so holding it we're just going to pull it up so that the edges meet, and this side as well. I'm then going to open up the side, get your finger inside the fold and open it out so that you're then folding it back the other way on those creases. Using your bone folder again to give you a nice crisp fold. Taking that little triangle at the top, folding that over, and then folding that back in to give you, go back to the square. And we'll just do that with this side. So get your finger in, open it out, flatten it, nice crease, and then fold the top over and crease that. Right, in all we need 5 of these, so I'm going to do 2 more just with the video going so that you can watch but without the audio. Okay, so now when you have all 5 petals done, we need to close the petals up. So I'm going to use the red line tape that I've got. The thinnest tape that you can get is good because ultimately it'll hold together with the hot glue, but this will just help you to build the flower. And especially when you're using Stampin' Up! DSP, because it's so thick, it really wants to bounce back. So you need something that's really good and strong to hold it while you're building it. So hence I use this because it sticks instantly too, rather than wet glue that you have to wait to dry. So when you're joining, not when you're joining the petals together, but when you're actually closing your petals up, you want to put it along just one edge. I'm just using some of my mother's cheap nasty kitchen scissors because I don't want to ruin my good scissors with sticky tape. So once you put a little bit of tape on, you just need to, with your finger, give it a nice sort of wrap it around so that it's a gentle, you're not creasing the paper, but you're folding it. And then join the top sides together and then just give it a a push together. Now with this very thin paper, you want to be careful not to really squash it. You want it to be nice and smooth. It's very easy to do when you're using the Stampin' Up! DSP because it's so nice and thick and strong. So that's one petal. I'm just going to put that to one side and quickly do the other 4. Okay, so now you should have 5 pretty petals. When you're joining the flower together, we're going to join all 5 petals, but we're not going to close it up. So we're only actually going to really properly join 4 of them. You need to just have the tape on one side. So you'll see I've lined mine all up the same way, because if you put some tape on this side and some on this side, you end up with 2 sides with tape and 1 side without tape. So the thing is to just sort of line them up so they're all going in one direction. So I'm going to start by, you want to put the tape so that it's on this inside part of the petal. You'll see this is going to be the inside of the flower. So we want it to be on the inside. So I'm going to put a bit of tape there, and I need to do that for all of them. So I want it to be on the same side, so it's going to go down here. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to join the flower up fully. So we start by removing the sticky back from one petal, getting your second petal, and with your fingers lining it up at the top so that it's squared off, and just going the length of the petal and then just gently close it together. Once again, this is really easy to do with the Stampin' Up! Designer series paper because it's so nice and chunky. It really squashes together nice without actually potentially squashing your petal. And we're going to just keep going along, but as I say, we're not going to close it up, so we're going to leave one of them without taking the backing off. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that tape. I'm not going to take that off just yet because we need to put the stem in. But when we roll it around, that's how you're going to end up with the flower. Now with the Stampin' Up! DSP, because it's so thick, you'll have a much bigger centre than this because the paper's so thick, it really spreads out. You don't see it on the ones I've already made because of course you cover it up with the button. So you just need to make sure, I usually select the buttons after I've made the flower just so that it will cover up the hole, but that's what it will look like when we join it all together. So I'm going to take a break while I heat up the glue gun. Now I think the hot glue gun should be good enough, so I'm just going to open the flower a bit. With the Stampin' Up! Designer series paper, because it's so chunky, it's really important that you get lots of glue in it, because it pushes so much against the tape. I fear that the tape will come apart over time if you just relied on the tape. So we're just going to open the flower up a bit so that it bears all the centre, and just use quite a bit of glue. And I have got a little bit of florist wire, and I just sort of turn it in there so it's coated all the way around. Oh, needed to take that off. Take that off and then just close the flower up. So I need to give it a second to dry, but you'll see the stem is just on near the top, and we'll just let the glue dry in place a little bit. You can then cut the stem to your desired length depending on what you're going to put it into. I'm just going to take quite a bit of this off with my mother's kitchen scissors. She'll be delighted. And then we're going to put a little bit of hot glue on the button. And put that in the centre. Be very careful when working with the hot glue, it does really get hot. And there you have a pretty flower. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you all make lots of these flowers because I think they're lovely, and I think when you put them in a vase like this, I think they make the perfect gift. And with Stampin' Up's really beautiful designer series paper, you can really make some beautiful flowers. I actually found that some of the more boring papers that don't look so nice actually make gorgeous flowers. So those papers that you don't quite like so much, try making flowers with them and you'll be surprised. So thank you for watching. I welcome any feedback, and if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, please visit www.handmadebytrish.com. Many thanks. Bye.